Everybody, welcome to On the Nose. This episode's just me, boring me. I thought I would try doing it with video. Haven't done that before. I've had people request it, but it feels weird, and I feel like my face ruins things. But I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna try to, you know, kind of make that more the norm since people like to see people. We did evolve with that, so I could, you know, yeah. Oh, it's funny. Every time I go to record, there's yard work being done, and today I was like, well, they haven't come. They're usually already here, and literally the moment I sat down, they showed up. So that's a thing. A couple of weeks ago, I was supposed to record, and they were they were out there, and the guy just left the lawnmower running. There's no, I looked outside, I couldn't find any people, but the lawnmower's running for over 20 minutes. And the noise is just like rumbling in my room. I was like, could you not? Like, you know, but it is one of my many pet peeves are yard workers, the noise from yard working and the smells from yard working and the fact that they are often not very good at what they do. I haven't looked at the work that these guys do to know, but I've had many plants ruined and yeah, it's a thing. Um, and I hate leaf blowers. Like it's like just tell me you're lazy without telling me you're lazy, you know? And I've seen some crazy leaf blowing in this area. Like this guy was just he just literally took everything from the lawn that he had cut and everything and just was blowing it into the street so the cars were driving and like blowing it all over the place. And I was just like, that's you're not, and it was at a business, so he's probably getting paid to do that. And it was just like mm. So I went and grabbed my phone because there were some articles that I wanted to share, and my phone is updating, so I can't actually get to stuff right now. But I figure I could do an update because I haven't done that for a while. Amos is being Amos. He's like jumping on the table where the computer is, which is part of why things are moving, and then he's now knocking things down. So he just knocked my knife down. It's in a sheath, but still. My coffee mug from when I did NaNoWriMo. I got myself a mug as like my prize for completing NaNoWriMo, and I did that, and then I haven't done anything with what I wrote. I haven't even looked at it. That's not what I was planning on doing, and I would like to do more with that, but I don't know. It's been hard to focus. I haven't had my ADHD meds in over a year, and there's some things that I can get into and I can focus on and stuff, but other things are just a lot harder, especially with me not feeling well. The stuff going on with my thyroid, I have hyperthyroidism, which is gives ADHD like symptoms. So if you have ADHD, it makes it like a lot worse. Um, Only I don't have hyperthyroidism in that I don't have Graves' disease or a nodule or whatever. I have inflammation of the thyroid. So that means there's no explanation for why I've been losing my voice, um, or that I have chronic sore throats, or any of the stuff that seemed related to having thyroid issues that I've been dealing with. Um, and the endocrinologist doesn't think that my initial symptoms that I had in November are related to my thyroid, even though they're very similar to what I've been experiencing ever since. So I won't know what's what until thyroid stuff gets better, which they don't treat it. They just wait for it to get better. Um, and then we'll see. And then certain percentage of people who have this thyroiditis um, they end up with hypothyroidism, which is the opposite, where everything goes "Brr," and you get fat and you're tired and stuff. Actually, you're tired with hyper as well. It's just your heart goes crazy and stuff like that. But and then they do treat that. So if I'm distracted by the cat, but Amos is like obsessed with my closet, and so I put door stops in front of the door so he can't get in, and so he's trying to remove the door stop. Excuse me, sir. He doesn't care. He's ignoring me. He's like, I'm gonna do what I want. So I kicked him out because that was too distracting. And yeah, also he was nice enough to do a really huge poop while he was in here, and it stinks. It's really, I don't even know what's up with that because all my other cats, I put them on raw food and their poops don't smell anymore, and it didn't help his at all. Like, so stanky poops. So I'm just sitting in here in butt fog. Thanks, man. Anyway, so I have no idea what's wrong with me. It's really frustrating. I don't even know what caused the thyroid stuff. Like, they're like, well, it's usually like a cold, like a virus causes it. And I didn't have one of those. I was like, well, I got a COVID vaccine. Could that have caused it? Because you know that can cause an inflammatory response when your immune system's like, whoa. But the thing is, I didn't even have any side effects. It's like the first time I gotten a vaccine and I didn't like crash. I didn't usually I feel like awful. And the COVID vaccines have been pretty gnarly for me. And I didn't have any side effects like at all. My arm barely even hurt. So I don't know. But the endocrinologist was like, well, that's not really a thing. But there's papers saying that it is a thing, that there's been higher incidence of this thing. The thyroiditis is relatively rare and it's been happening at higher rates since COVID. Um, and they're able to sort of tie it to both vaccines and to COVID itself. There's actually been a lot of stuff with the COVID infection that there have been much higher rates of those issues. Um, and it's going to be interesting to see when the data finally catches up and is integrated into common knowledge for doctors and common knowledge, because we know not all doctors ever get the fucking message with things, that to see, because a lot of people are like, oh, COVID is just a cold and it doesn't really matter if they get it, but the inflammation that is left in the body after a COVID infection is scary, and I don't really understand why people aren't more scared of it. Like, there's a certain amount of, yeah, you gotta live your life or whatever, but if people had taken the precautions seriously to begin with, COVID would not have been allowed to run rampant in quite the way that it has. There wouldn't be as many, you know, um, mutations and stuff. So we did it to ourselves. I'm one of the few people that has not had COVID yet, and I'm going to do my best to keep it that way for a very long time. I don't care that isolation is unhealthy. Getting sick is unhealthy. I have chronic fatigue syndrome because of some jackass coughing on a plane, and that pretty much ruined my life. And I'm at a very high risk for um, relapsing and now long COVID because of it. So I'm not interested in getting COVID. Um, I literally do not want to know what my body's going to do with that. My body freaks out. I mean, come on, I got like thyroiditis and I have no fucking idea why. Like, was it because of like the mold that was making me cough? Like I have no idea, and if I'm reacting to things that are hard to avoid in the environment, like the weed from my neighbor, it, you know, it would, I can't even imagine like with the virus. So yeah. Um, I think my symptoms are starting to get a little better because I'm starting to sleep. I haven't, like, I literally had broken sleep since November. Um, the heart palpitations and weird panic attacks and stuff were pretty intense. And I still get anxiety in the mornings, right around like between 9 and 11, but it's not like super severe. I didn't even know it was anxiety. I thought it was my gut. I apparently am not very good at recognizing feelings in my body because I just was like, oh, I'm having GI issues. What I'm feeling must be my gut. And that's exactly where I feel the anxiety. So I got a heating pad. It's like a lava sand heating pad. So it's about 4 pounds. And I just lay that across my stomach. I don't heat it up or anything. Just that weight helps like a lot. It doesn't stop it, but it like muffles it. It's very soothing. And then I usually can go back to sleep for a little while with that. Um, yeah. I did see an ENT and he looked at my vocal cords. I watched the video. It was pretty weird. It's like there's an alien inside all of us. Um, and he said my vocal cords look fine. So I really thought the thyroid was going to be the cause of this, but it's not. So I do have a follow up with him after I get my hearing tested. Um, he's the first doctor that I've seen who is concerned about the fact that my hearing loss is it's not the same between my ears. I have cookie bite hearing loss, which means it's mid range, and that's believed to be genetic. It's not the cause of, you know, like environmental or whatever. I actually have always been really good about wearing earplugs and stuff. Like I was the jerk that would force them on my friends and be like, wear earplugs when we're at concerts and even in bars and stuff because I don't like loud noises. Um, so getting hearing loss was and I wear earplugs when riding a motorcycle, even though it's illegal because um yeah, dude, the wind, like people lose their hearing from that shit. But so getting hearing loss that was genetic is hurt my feelings. Like my body is a troll. It's like, oh, you took precautions. Well, guess what? um, so he wants to see if it's gotten any worse. I haven't been wearing my hearing aids because I get really angry when I wear them. Um, partially like I got them because I was living with somebody who mumbled and I thought my hearing got worse. It ends up I just can't hear him. Um, and I can hear most other people. There's sometimes I'll be in situations where I'm really struggling to hear and I have to work a little harder, but it's usually where there's like a lot of background noise. And I have auditory processing disorder, so that's already a challenge for me. It just, you know, I just ask people to speak up. Um, but also like even though my hearing aids are like tunable and all that stuff, they amplify some of the most annoying sounds that I want to escape from, not get closer to. So like I'll be in the car and somebody revs or they honk their horn and it's like way louder than it would have been. And those noises already annoy me. So then I get like overstimulated and I start getting really stressed out. And it's like this sensory thing that I'm not sure what I'm going to do when I get to the point that I actually need to wear the hearing aids. Um, so okay, info dump. Um, when you have hearing loss, it's really important to use the tools that help you hear, because the hearing loss has a pretty severe impact on the brain. And the longer your hearing loss goes untreated or unmanaged or uncompensated for or whatever, the more connections in your brain you lose. And it becomes harder to learn how to hear using those tools later on. And this is becomes an issue for older people who are from that generation where using tools is seen as a weakness. So, they don't want to acknowledge their hearing loss, and they don't want to do what's needed to allow them to hear. And so they go like years until it's so bad that it's like, okay, you have to use them. And at that point, the brain can no longer adapt to it. And so they just end up isolated because they can't hear, and if they had started wearing the hearing aids uh, earlier when it wasn't so severe, their brain would have been able to adapt and it wouldn't have been a problem. And also, it has also been found that hearing loss also, what's the word? Doesn't cause, but there's a higher incidence of dementia in people who do not manage their hearing loss. So it really is not good for the brain. So if you do have hearing loss and it's recommended for you to start using tools, please just use the tools. It's our culture, the way that we think about using accessibility aids, using tools is silly. Like there's all this shame and this idea of being that you're weak. And I actually think it's the opposite. I think that being able to recognize that you need something and then utilizing that something is actually a strength, because you're willing to use the thing you need so that you can function. You're making a healthy choice for yourself so that you can continue to function. It doesn't make you less than, it does not make you weak. You're actually, literally doing the opposite. You're ensuring that you have less limitation because you're using the tools. Like I never look at somebody that's using a wheelchair or a cane or hearing aids and I think like, wow, they're weak. But when I run into people who are literally like, well, I don't want to use that while they struggle with like issues like falling and they're not walking very well and they're refusing to use a walker or a cane or whatever, I do tend to think that they're weak um because they're thinking they're they're prioritizing their pride over everything else, over their well-being, over their mobility, over their functionality. It's yeah. So, but yeah, with that, the body learns from the things that we do to it or don't do to it. So, not using the walking aid is going to hurt you in the long run. Whatever is the cause, it's going to hurt you. And not using the hearing aid, same thing. Just use the tools. Take care of yourself. Eat the good food. Let's see if my phone is done doing the thing. Yes, my software has been updated. Very good. So there was an article in Psychology Today about how men's neglect of self-care impacts their partners. This for me was a big fucking duh because this is something I've been mad about for a long time. Basically, the idea behind the article is that men often do not prioritize self-care specifically around their health. Men are very good at self-care when it comes to like, oh, I'm going to play a game. I need to relax or whatever, but they're not very good at like, you know, doing the healthy diet and all that, or going to the doctor. And there are exceptions, but generally speaking, this is an area that men tend to struggle partially because of the toxic masculinity stuff that's force fed in our culture and many cultures. And what happens when a man is partnered with somebody, and we're going to generalize like straight couples because these demographics don't apply to gay men as much because they tend to be better taking care of themselves. Um, so, a man gets in a relationship with a woman, and there's all these areas that women are expected to be responsible, and men don't even realize that they've put that expectation because it's so normalized that they grow up with it. They just, that's how the world is shaped. It's like the magic table thing. There's like this commercial in Australia. It's like the guy is like, well, the table just magically cleans itself, and it's his partner, but he has no idea because it doesn't even register. It just happens. And there's a lot of things in our lives that happen that way, that women just do because we're raised to do them, and then men don't do because it's never dawned on them to do it. No one's ever asked them to. No one's ever taught them to. Um, and it can be really difficult when men are asked to do those things for them to make space in their brains to do it, um, because they've never had to. And there's a little bit of like an entitlement, like, well, why do I have to expend energy on that? Never mind the fact that their partner is doing that. And it is one of the leading causes of relationships failing, is because women reach this point where they're just like, why can't he just do this basic thing? Like, if I can do it, why can't he do it? You know? But all of that emotional, mental labor that women are expected to take on often extends into men's health, like getting men to go to the doctors and trying to get them to eat well and stuff like that. And if either that work isn't done, so say the woman's just kind of waiting for the man to do it, or she can't get him to do it because a lot of men are very like, I can eat what I want. It's like they need the bad thing to happen to them before they really acknowledge it's a thing. And even then, sometimes they just keep doing whatever. Um, and, so as the man starts to get health issues, um, the work around managing those health issues and the impact of those health issues, the limitations it creates and the discomfort and stuff, all that becomes like more work for the female partner. And it, adds a lot of stress. And that is something that I have like foreseen. Even when I was like in my late 20s, it was just like, like I don't want to be responsible for somebody's like early onset diabetes because they refuse to, put the bread down. Um, they refuse to eat salads or whatever. Like, I don't want to be responsible for that. I'm going to be like resentful. It's one thing for somebody to have like health issues that are the result of genetics or an environmental thing that they don't have control over. It's another for someone to do it to themselves, you know? Um, and it's like, I've worked really hard to have good health for a long time. I've never really gotten to have a healthy body. Like I've had pain since I was a kid. I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was 19. And so I was like obsessively tight about my diet because I was told I was predisposed to diabetes. I've always been very careful. So the idea of like taking on the responsibility of someone else's healthcare when my healthcare is already like a lot of work, it's like, hell no, I don't want to be responsible for that. And I also don't want to deal with like self-inflicted health stuff. Everybody's got their things, and that's something that is important to me. Um, and there's a lot of like health things that happen as you get older, and it becomes harder and harder to avoid because it's just part of aging. But it happens to people much younger, like their 40s and 50s, because of their choices, their dietary choices and lifestyle choices and stuff like that. And, that's, you want to do that. You want to eat yourself into diabetes and needing heart surgeries or whatever, that's fine, but take responsibility, get yourself to the doctor and get medicate yourself and do the things you need to do for it, and don't inflict it on anybody else. Own your shit. Like, that's it. Like, that's my opinion on that. So in that article, they say that making self-care relational, making it more of a we thing than a me thing, can help men be better about it, because there's a lot of baggage around self-care, the idea that, it makes you weak, or like it's better to be stoic than emotionally expressive, and things like that. And that's all toxic masculinity stuff. It's, like boy code stuff, not being expressive and hiding how you feel and all that. It's silly. We're all human. We all have needs. We have emotions. We all have, like, and yeah, and I'm skeptical about the idea that making it relational is going to help. I think it will absolutely help with some people, but I think if the we mentality was going to help, mental and emotional labor would not be as much of an issue as it is. So that's my take on that. Yeah. Another article that I read, let's see if I can find it. Okay, so there's an article that was saying researchers identify how eating a Western diet impairs memory functioning. And basically, um, the Western diet, which is characterized by high levels of processed food, saturated fats, and simple sugars, um, that it can lead to lasting deficits in hippocampal dependent episodic memory, despite not causing obesity or metabolic dysfunction. Um, so, so it was found, if you eat like crappy and then you change your diet to healthier foods, whole foods, and all that, that it has a real impact on your health and can help you in all kinds of ways. But the damage done to the brain, from eating these processed foods, especially like early in life, that damage remains no matter what. So that's scary. So it says here, the researchers found that rats fed a Western diet during early development exhibited significant long-lasting deficits in hippocampal dependent episodic memory, which disruptions in hippocampal aceo ace I don't know that word, signaling, this chemical, signaling acting as a potential mediator. Uh, this chemical, it's acetylcholine, is a critical neurotransmitter for learning and memory processes, and its disruption has been linked to cognitive decline in conditions like Alzheimer's disease. In the Western diet fed rats, there were notable changes in that chemical neurotransmission within the hippocampus, including altered dynamics of that chemical release during memory tasks and long-term reductions in cholinergic, cholinergic tone. These findings point to a significant role of that chemical signaling in the observed cognitive deficits, suggesting that dietary influences on this neurotransmitter system could underlie the lasting memory impairments. The researchers also explored the role of the gut microbiome in mediating the cognitive effects of a Western diet. While early life consumption of this diet altered the gut microbiome, these changes were largely reversible with a subsequent healthy diet intervention. This reversibility of microbiome alterations, however, did not extend to the cognitive impairments, which persisted despite the dietary switch. The findings indicate that what types of foods one consumes can have impacts on brain function throughout the lifespan, but particularly during early life periods when brain systems are still developing. So that whole, like, you are what you eat, and yeah, basically, and so there's this impacting the brain, the memory, and everything. And there have been other studies that have found damages caused by the Western diet, um, that also persists no matter what you do with your diet later on. So there's we should not be feeding our kids processed food. We should not be eating processed food, except as a splurge. And it should not be the norm. It should not be the cheap and easy to get to food. Like, it makes no, it's like, it is crazy to me that the most affordable stuff is basically poison, and the things that we should be eating are not as affordable. You know, I eat vegetables and beans, quinoa, rice, and those things are not too expensive. But it still adds up, especially if you're eating like fresh vegetables. I eat a lot of frozen stuff because it's a little cheaper. But um, you start adding in grass fed and no antibiotics and stuff for meat, and it's much easier to eat healthy if you don't eat meat. Because getting access to the meats that are less scary are expensive. But yeah, so those are some things that I read that I was like, oh, well, that's interesting and scary and sad. Um, because I don't know about you, but I grew up eating hamburger helper. So, but we did have salads. Okay. Like we ate stuff that's not great. But then for a couple of years, we also had like a garden, and I got to eat, you know, fruits and veggies straight from the plant. Um, yeah. Speaking of which, I have some apples in the fridge. I should probably go eat one. I wish so. I'm using Zoom to record, and it doesn't tell me how long I've been recording. And I really wish that that was information that it gave me, because that would be useful. I like this red. Oh, it's the it's the light from the. Oh, look at my books. My books. I'm so happy. I got to unpack my books. They were like in boxes in storage, and the cardboard was starting to get like moisture damage. And I was so worried about my books. And then I thought I was gonna have to sell my books because there was no way I was gonna be able to keep them safe. Um, and then my whole housing situation like imploded, and now I get to have my books out. So that's pretty cool. That means I get to start maintaining my wish list again to keep track of the series as they expand and stuff, so that I make sure I don't miss anything. Like most of this collection was gifted to me through my wish list, or I traded in other books and got them at Half Price Bookstore using the credits, or I used my Amazon credits. I used to save my entire year of Amazon credits, and then around Black Friday, when they have the like 3 for 2 sale, I would buy some of the books then too. So always getting them, as cheap as I can. I would absolutely love to buy locally, like at Zeppelin. There's a shop in Benicia, and but I can't afford it. The markup is too much. I'm sorry. I started shopping at Walmart again, and it's not. It may. I just but the prices are so much cheaper than everywhere else for the most part. The exception to that are like certain things I can get at Trader Joe's for cheap. There's an Asian market by the Walmart that has some stuff cheaper. Like you can get big ass bags of bok choy for cheap. Some stuff is cheap at Costco, but it's like you have to do your homework, right? So it's like that's why I have multiple places that I shop, because some stuff's cheap here, some stuff's cheap there, and you you know, gotta go where you can afford it. So with all my health stuff, I haven't done anything. I worked on the podcast, and I honestly feel like the work I've been doing for the podcast isn't great. It's not, it deserves better. My brain just doesn't work well. And I haven't done anything creative really. And it bums me out, but I'm hoping in the next few weeks I'm gonna start to feel better. And I have these boxed, they were from a crate I used to have be signed up for, where once a month you get like an art project. And I was so focused on my art projects that I didn't do most of the crates that I got. So I just have all these boxes. So I've been thinking that I'm gonna start doing those. I'll just grab one from random from my storage unit and um just commit to doing whichever one is in there, unless it involves hammering. Because as rude as my neighbor is, I I can't I can't act like him. Because if he needed to hammer for hours on end, he probably would. Um, but yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, so I was thinking about doing that. I also want to have a puzzle I want to put together, but I don't have the puzzle pad thing anymore. I had one and I got rid of it when I was getting rid of stuff. And with a cat, I need to be able to put puzzle away when I go to bed. So I need to get one of those again. And it's on my wish list. um, and then I could do that. I don't know, make a video while I'm doing it because it's relaxing. So yeah, my shop. I put my shop back up. It was on vacation for over a month, and since I put it back up, it's been a couple of weeks, and I haven't gotten any purchases. I was getting like 3 a week before that. I haven't gotten anything. I even had a sale. I honestly have never gotten any sales during sales. I don't know why, but I don't even mark my stuff up enough to make money if I do a sale. But it's frustrating. I need to start migrating my stuff off of Etsy to a different marketplace and see if it helps because Etsy is not a great environment to sell. And it's very discouraging. I did start a new TikTok account just for puppet stuff and have like it's been like 2 weeks and I have like 140 followers. I had like over 6,000 before, and I've watched several friends go from being banned to making new accounts, and usually within the first week they've got at least 1,000 followers. So that, I'm not surprised. I absolutely expected it, but still kind of sucks, you know. But that's okay. Um, I didn't have very interactive followers before, so maybe when I build up this time, it'll be better or not. You know, I have um, I have a text file full of links that TikTok gave me that has all my favorite sounds that I had saved for doing puppet stuff, and I have to literally copy and paste it and then add it to my favorites. Um, so it's so tedious, but I'm totally gonna do it because I had like a lot of really good sounds saved, and I absolutely do not have the attention span to be scrolling to try to find sounds. I just don't. I would so much rather be playing video games or reading a book or anything. Why does it look blurry now? Anything over um looking at scrolling on my phone at videos. So, yeah. I know I'm a terrible social media person because I only like to make content. I don't really like to consume it very much. But I'm gonna hope that I've been recording for long enough, but if not, then And yeah, I think that's about it. The ones by myself are always so rambly because I'm like blue blue blue. My brain's like blue blue blue, and I'm like ADHD and things and stuff, and it's super extra right now. But I don't feel like I'm gonna die sitting here, which is a good sign because the last couple of months, every time I sit at a desk, I start shaking because I'm so weak. So I think that's a sign that maybe the thyroid stuff is starting to actually get better. Anyway, if you listen to this whole thing, thanks. You're awesome and crazy. Um, and I will talk to you next week.